Namaste and welcome back to the DSA classes. Today we are going to be discussing another commonly asked question in any DS Algo interview called as the rope cutting problem. Now what does the problem say? This is how the problem is defined. Given a rope of length n, you need to find the maximum number of pieces you can make from the rope, okay, such that the length of every piece is in the set a, b, c for the given three values of a, b and c. Now maybe you understood the problem, maybe you didn't understand the problem. Let's try and understand what it actually means, right? So it's very simple, guys. These are the given values to you: n, a, b and c. N is 15, let us assume a is 5, b is 8, c is 7. So what does n mean? N reflects basically the length of the given rope. So we have a rope of length 15 like this. Now what they are saying is you have to make this 15 length rope into smaller pieces. And how many such smaller pieces you can make, or what is the maximum number of smaller pieces you can make, is what they are asking. But the catch here is that every smaller piece that you make should either be of length 5 or should be of length 8 or should be of length 7 or A, B and C. I hope you're able to think, which means one way in which I can make smaller pieces is, right, one piece I will make which is of length 8. So I will cut the rope at length 8. Another piece I will make of length 7. So two pieces are made. And it's very important that not even 1 inch of the rope gets wasted. So you can see 0 rope got wasted because 8 plus 7 is 15. Any confusion till here? So I got 2 pieces. One more way is I can make 3 pieces of length A. What is A? 5. So 5, 5 and 5. I hope you're able to think. Again 0 rope is wasted and I've got 3 pieces. Like this, there could be many combinations that you could divide it. In this particular case, there are only 2 combinations in which you can divide without wasting any rope. I hope you're able to think. And out of these, which is the one where you got maximum pieces? This. So what is the maximum pieces that you could have divided the rope such that the piece length of every piece should either be A, B or C? Is 3. And this must be your output. Any confusion till here? Now, how are we going to go ahead and solve this question is the bigger question here, isn't it? So let me show you. Watch it. Basically, I have N, I have A, B and C. Now what I want you to understand is, like this, we have a rope of length 15, guys. We have a rope of length 15. Now, you know that if I have to break it down into smaller pieces, there are only 3 ways I can cut it. Either I should cut it of length 5, or I should cut a piece of length 8, or I should cut a piece of length 7, because that is the values of A, B and C. This is the restriction imposed upon me. Okay. Now let us assume I cut a piece which is of length 5, which means now the original rope's length will reduce by 5. So 15 minus 5, it will become 10. Any confusion? Or N minus A is going to be the new length of my rope. And now it is 10, guys. Now again I have to try to make more pieces, but every piece should either be 5, 8 or 7. These are the only 3 options I have. Let's start with 5. If I again cut one more piece of length 5, then the rope is now going to become a smaller rope, which is what is going to be the length? 10 minus 5, so 5. I'll be able to think. Again now the length is 5. Again if I cut it, I have only 3 options, which is 5, 8 and 7. Now look at this. Let me just zoom this for your reference. If in case I cut like this, wherein I cut it at length 5, then what you must understand is 5 minus 5, now the rope length will become 0. If it becomes 0, then I know that I cannot continue cutting it anymore because I have cut as many pieces as possible. I hope you're able to think. So I got 0. However, if in case I decided to cut off length 8, can I even cut a piece of length 8 when the rope length is only 5? No. Because see, if I do 5 minus 8, what will I get? Minus 3. Which means if you see a negative value, what it is telling you is that, hey, no more cutting can happen. Of this length you cannot cut, negative value. Similarly, can I cut off length 7? No, because again 5 minus 7 is minus 2. So you can see that ultimately you have arrived at your base condition. What is your base conditions? Two things. 0 is also your base condition. Negative values is also a base condition. Now you must be wondering why. Now negative value is also a base condition, because if you get negative, it means that the length of the rope was not sufficient length for you to cut it off this length. Length is 5, you are trying to cut a piece of length 8, insufficient length you have, that is why you got negative. Length is 5, you are trying to cut a length of 7, insufficient length you have, that is why minus 2. In fact, this minus 3 is the length that is missing for you to make a successful cut of length 8, right? And minus 2 is the length that is missing for you to make a successful cut of length 7. That is what it is ultimately telling. So, if I get 0, I know that I have successfully cut. If I get negative values, I know I have unsuccessfully cut. Now, whenever you hit a base, your function should be able to return a value which can indicate success or failure, 0 or negative values. So, how will we do that? Simple. Whenever it is returning whenever it is 0, let it return 0. Whenever it is a negative value, let it not return some random negative value. Let us standardize it and return minus 1. So 0 means successful, minus 1 means unsuccessful, which means, watch it and understand what I am saying. I am saying that, hey, if it is 0, I will return 0. If base case is 0, I will return 0. If in case it is negative values, then I would like to return minus 1 like this. I would like to return minus 1. I hope you are able to think. Great. So now watch it. Here, there were 3 options. One guy returned minus 1, one guy returned minus 1. Ultimately for me, I want to check that when my rope's length was 5, either a cut of 5 or 8 or 7, was it possible or not possible? That's all I want to know. If it is possible, then I must keep a count that yes, one piece is ready. Like that I want to keep a count. But ultimately first I should know whether it was possible or not. How will you check if it is possible? Very simple. All you do is find the maximum of all the 3 values which is returned. Find the maximum of all the 3 values which is returned. If I find the maximum of 0, minus 1 and minus 1, you know maximum is 0. Or can I say it is a non-negative value? If it is a non-negative value, or in other words, if it is not minus 1, then I know successfully one of these length cut I was able to make when the rope's length was 5. That is what it indicates to me. So again, very simple. All 3 will return. You find the max of all the 3 values which is returned, and whatever is the max, check if it is equal to minus 1. If it is equal to minus 1, you know that a piece was not made. If it is not equal to minus 1, you know one piece was made successfully. It could be of length 5, length 8, length 7. I am not bothered about it. I am bothered about keeping track of how many pieces ultimately the rope is being cut into, right? Here now I understood, yes, one piece it is being cut into. So what should it do? If whatever is returned, the max of it is not minus 1, then you must now create a variable called as pieces. Initially its value is going to be 0. What you have to do now is add 1 to it. Add 1 to it. If I add 1 to 0, it becomes 1. So how many pieces? 1 piece. Correct. Have you not made 1 piece? Now that is what further you have to return. That is what further you have to return, which means watch it. Now what this is going to return is that, hey, listen, length 5, 1 piece was made. It is going to return. Any confusion till this point of time? Great. Now you are back here. Now this side you checked. Now come to this side, 8. Length is 10. Can you make a cut of length 8? And will it be a successful cut such that no rope is wasted? Let's look at it. If it is 8, then 10 minus 8, rope length will become 2. Even now it is not 0. So further you have to check whether cut is possible. So again 3 options. 5 length cut, 8 length cut, 7 length cut. If I try to cut 5 length cut, I will get negative value because 2 minus 5 is minus 3, which means I know this is not a possibility, right? Since this is not a possibility, this is now going to return minus 1. That is how we have returned it. Next, we will check here that length of the rope is 2. I am trying to cut 8 length. Not possible. I will get minus 6 because 2 minus 8 is minus 6, which means this guy is going to return minus 1. Similarly, this guy also, if you check here, what will you get? Minus 5. 2 minus 5. 7 length you can't cut. So it's a negative value. So you will return minus 1. Now, find the max. If you find the max of minus 1 and minus 1, what will you get? Minus 1. So the max of all the three values that is returned to you is minus 1. What does that mean? That means a successful cut was not made. If successful cut was not made, then this is pieces. Don't update the value of pieces. Let it be as it is. Instead, what you must now do is, you must return minus 1. So see here I will be returning minus 1. What does this mean? What it means is that, hey, sorry, successfully you could not cut. Yes, you started with 15. You made a cut of 10, then you tried to make a cut of 8. If you try to make a cut of 8, you will never be able to successfully cut it without making any wastage to the rope. That is what it says. So return minus 1. Any confusion till this point of time? Great. Similarly, now focus. I'm going to make it a little quick. So 5 is over, 8 is over, come to 7. Now 10 length rope, if you make a 7 cut, you will be left with a rope of length 3. Again, rope length has not become 0, so you try to cut it further. 5, 8 and 7 are the three possibilities you have. And if you cut of length 5, you will not insufficient length, so minus 2. 8 insufficient length, so minus 5. 7 insufficient length, so minus 4. So would you agree? All these three guys will now be returning minus 1. All of them will return minus 1. Find the max. Max of 3 minus 1s is minus 1. And hence, what do you know? That it is not possible, right? And that is what it is going to return. Because you know, ultimately the max is minus 1. If max is minus 1, it is not possible. So don't update the pieces count. Return minus 1. Now look at it. For rope length 10, you tried with 5 and its options. You tried with 8 and its options. You tried with 7 and its options. Now 5 told you with 5 length, one piece was made successfully. Here it is telling no piece. Here it is telling no piece. Now, this could have told you some other value. It could have returned 2, you never know. It could have returned 3, you never know. But you have to calculate the maximum pieces, which means again find the max value. Which is the one which has given you the maximum pieces? It is 5. So, max of 1 minus 1 and 1 is nothing but 1. It is not equal to minus 1, which means it is not a negative value. If it is not a negative value, then take your pieces, add 1 to it. It was 1. If you add 1 to it, it becomes 2. And that is what should be returned by this. So, max of all this is 1. So, because it is 1, I know one piece was made. I'll add that to the piece, and that is what it is going to return, which means it is going to return 2. So, one piece, second piece. That is what it means, right? Great. Now, you are back here. Originally 15 length rope. You tried with 5, you went down and you know that, okay, till here 2 pieces were returned to me. Any confusion till here? Now coming to 8. Now when I look at 8, ultimately I can see one thing, which is here 8, if I try, again 3 options. 15 minus 8 is length 7 rope, you will get 3 options, 5, 8 and 7. Let's start with 5. So 7 minus 5 is 2 length. Again it's not 0, so again 3 options, 5, 8 and 7. If I try with 5, I'll get minus 3. If I try with 8, I'll get minus 6. If I try with 7, I'll get minus 5. Insufficient length, isn't it? Which means you know this is also going to return minus 1. This is also going to return minus 1. This is also going to return minus 1. Any confusion till here? Max of 3 minus 1 is minus 1, which means not successful. And that is what further this is going to return. that hey, if in case your rope length is 7 and you make a cut with 5, you will waste the rope. It's not going to become 0. That is what it ultimately means. Any confusion? Okay, this is done. Now we will come to 8. So 7 minus 8 is minus 1, not possible. So this obviously is directly going to return minus 1. Then 7 minus 7 is 0. 0 means you have hit a base case, and yes, 0 means success. Success means you have to return 0. Now minus 1, 0. Find the max. It is nothing but 0. 0 means it's not a negative value, it's not equal to minus 1. If it is not equal to minus 1, successfully you made a piece. If you made a piece, then ultimately for this track, you will be having a pieces count, right? So pieces initially will be 0, and that is now going to be made as 1. 1 piece is there. Any confusion? And that is what ultimately I will be returning here. 1 piece. Any confusion till this point of time? Beautiful. Next, I am coming to this track 7. Okay, so 15 minus 7, rope length will be 8. It's not 0. Again, 3 possible cuts, 5, 8 and 7. 5 means it is going to be 8 minus 5, length is going to be 3. Again, it is not 0, so we have to cut it. 3 options I have. 5 cut if I do, minus 2. 8 cut if I do, minus 5. And 7 cut if I do, it is minus 4. Obviously, none of them are successful, so all of them will return minus 1, minus 1, minus 1. Max of 3 minus 1s is minus 1. That is what will be returned, or let me just show it like this. That is what will be returned, minus 1. Which means, what are you telling? Hey, 15 length. If you make a cut of 7, you will have 8. If that further you try to cut with 5, then definitely rope will be wasted. I hope you're able to think. Anyways, that's fine. Now we'll come to 8. If you cut with 8, yes, 0. 0 means this is a successful cut you have made. So naturally, you will be returning 1. Or sorry, you will be returning 0. Next, 7. 7 if you cut, it will still 1 length will be remaining. There if you try with 5, 8 and 7, you will get negative values, which means all these 3 guys will return minus 1. See, all of them will return minus 1. Max of minus 1 is minus 1, and ultimately that is what you would be returning, minus 1, like this. Now if you return minus 1, it means that no, it is not successful. Now find the max. Minus 1, 0 and 1. Is nothing but 0, which means it is not equal to minus 1, which means successfully 1 piece is there. If successfully 1 piece is there, then what you have to now do is, you have your pieces variable, initially it will be 0, make it as 1. If you make it as 1, and that is what you will be returning. That is what you will be returning. Any confusion till this point of time? Now again here you are seeing which is the track which was able to give you the maximum pieces. So if you find max, 2, 1 and 1 is nothing but 2. Any confusion till here? It is not a negative value. If it is not a negative value, successfully pieces were made. So what you have to do is take that pieces variable, update its value from right now it was 2, make it as 3. So totally 3 pieces, and ultimately that is what will be returned. Any confusion till this point of time? And ultimately you will notice what you got is 3. And definitely the maximum pieces that a rope of length 15 can be cut into is 3 pieces. And see, that is what you are saying. 15, 5 1 cut, 5 second cut, 5 third cut. Totally 3 pieces. Any confusion till this point of time? So this is how it recursively works. Now what I have shown you as ropes can easily be shown into a recursive call like this, where the rope's length is nothing but n. You have a, b and c value. If in case you do a 5 cut, then in the next call, n value is going to become previous value of n minus a, because 5 is nothing but a, n minus a, it will become 10. Similarly, it will go, and you can see all the base cases I have written it as single digits, right? Either negative or 0, so that you understand that these are all base cases. Any confusion till this point of time? So definitely it works. Now the only other thing is, how are we going to write this as a recursive function, right? So let me just reduce this, keep it aside. Now watch it all of you. What I will do is, I am going to create one function which I will call as maybe int, and I will call this function as max pieces, like this, maximum pieces, right? What will this accept? This is going to accept rope length n, cut length a, cut length b, cut length c, because you know there are 3 values they have given. So first of all, what should you do inside this? Very simple. Look at the base condition. What is the base condition? Check if in case the length, that is n, if it is equal to 0, then we know that yes, you have hit a base condition. But is it the successful base condition or unsuccessful base condition? 100% it is an successful base condition. If it is a successful base condition, then according to our logic, we had to return 0. So here I will just tell, please return 0, like this, right? Else I will check if in case this n value is negative. Negative means unsuccessful, by wasting the rope. Rope is getting wasted, that is what it means, right? If that is the case, we decided that we are going to return a negative value, which is -1. I hope the base cases are clear. Now, if you have not hit the base case, then you have to keep trying to cut the rope either with length 5, length 8 or length 7, or A, B and C. Would you agree with me? So, how are we doing this? Simple. I will make 3 calls, guys. First call is, I will call max pieces. I will call max pieces, and what I will do is, now I am trying to cut the rope n with the length A. One A length piece I am trying to make. So the length of the rope will change. How will it change? N was the original length. Now you made a piece of A length, so n minus A. A, B, C anyways is the same. Now this will return you something which is nothing but, you know, the count of the pieces. Ultimately it will return. That count of the pieces I am going to store within a variable called as temp1, like this. Similarly, I will again make a call to max pieces. This time cutting with B. So I will tell n minus B. Anyways A, B and C values is the same. Whatever this returns, I will store it in temp2. I will make another call to max pieces, this time trying to cut it with length C. A, B, C is anyways the same. This I will try to store it in a variable called as temp3. Now, ultimately you must find the max of these 3 values. So, just do that. Find the max of these 3 values. Max of temp1, temp2 and temp3. Find the max of these 3, and that you store it in a variable called as pieces. So that is the maximum pieces. Maybe by cutting it with length A, you got 3 pieces. By cutting it with length B, you got 2 pieces. By cutting it with length C, you got only a single piece, right? Ultimately, you want the maximum pieces. So find the max. How to find the max? I'll show you. You will get pieces, right? Now, what you have to do is, you have to check. If in case this particular pieces value, you are checking if this pieces value is negative or -1. You remember? If all 3 in the base condition, all 3 returned -1 to you, for example like this here, if you notice, if all 3 returns -1, then what it means is it was unsuccessful, right? So if the max of all the pieces was -1, then it means that definitely it is unsuccessful cut. It's unsuccessful cut. So what you do is you just return -1. Okay. Otherwise, if this condition is not satisfied, directly you return whatever is the value of pieces plus 1. That is what we were doing. Initially pieces is 0 and we were initializing it to 0 and adding 1 to it and sending it, right? So that is that. And maybe inside this you can have a variable called as pieces whose initial value is going to be 0. Any confusion till this point of time? So this is the recursive function using which you can calculate the maximum pieces that a rope of length n can be cut either in A, B or C length pieces. I hope you're able to think. Will this work? Let us write some code and check. Now it's just time for us to write code. Writing code is the easy part. I'll just go there. First I'll write my base condition, right? If in case if n value or the rope length becomes 0, it means I have successfully been able to chop it. I will return 0. Else, if in case the rope length becomes a negative value, I know it is unsuccessful, so less than 0. If that is the case, I will return minus 1. I'll return minus 1. Good. Next I'll come down and what I will do is I will now have to make 3 recursive calls where I'm trying to cut with A length, B length, C length. So I'll just copy this part and I'll just paste it again. Max pieces, yeah. There now n value will change. If I cut with A length, then A length you should subtract. So n minus A, that will be the new length of the rope. A, B, C values are fixed. Now this will tell me how many pieces was generated. That I will store in a variable called as temp1. Store it within a variable called as temp1. Okay, good. Similarly, what I will do is I'll just duplicate this line 3 times, make it as temp2, make this as n minus B because B length. Next I'll make that as temp3 and I'll make it as n minus C. Okay, cool. Now I have to find the max of these 3, right? So now in Java there is a class called as math. Inside that there is a static method called as max. Now this will accept 2 values. So you can only find the max of 2 values. So what we will do is I'll find the max of temp1 and temp2 and I will store that within a variable called as maybe result, res. Okay, cool. Or you can remove this result, not required. Right. So we found the max of temp1 and temp2. Now what I will do is further I'll just cut this. I'll again tell math.max. Math.max. I'll call max and now I will tell, hey listen, temp3 I will pass. And instead of B, here I will give that, I'll paste whatever I cut. So see here, find the maximum of temp3 and the maximum between temp1 and temp2. So whichever is the maximum and temp3 if I find, ultimately whichever is the max I will get it. That is what I will store in a variable called as pieces. That is what I will store in a variable called as pieces. Any confusion? No need to initialize it to 0 and all. This can be the initial value. Any confusion till here? If no pieces were possible, you will get 0. Don't worry about it. Now I will check if in cases this pieces is a negative value. Negative value means pieces were not possible. That is what it means. So if in case pieces is equal to minus 1, then what I will do is I will return minus 1. Right? Otherwise, I will come outside if condition and just I will tell return whatever is the old value of pieces plus 1. Old value of pieces plus 1. Any confusion till here? As simple as that. Now, will this work is the question. Anyways, I'll come down. I'll tell, sys out, I've called max pieces 15, 5, 8 and 7 I have passed. So we should get the output as 3. Let's see whether it works. So if in case I go and if in case I execute it, exactly I have got 3. So it works, right? Now these are questions which initially may seem difficult to you, but you must practice, you must revise. I'm sure at least if 2 to 3 times you revise and you re-watch this content, crystal clear clarity you will get with respect to the approach that we have made. Any confusion till here? Great. So I hope you enjoyed the rope cutting problem and I will catch you in the next class.